Okay, so we are talking about the Leo Solar Festival, which of course you know is when the sun and the moon are exactly opposite, with the sun in Leo and the moon in Aquarius. And that's next week. It's actually the 9th of August. I can't recall the time now. I think I'll tell you later on when I find the chart. Of course, it depends whereabouts you are on the planet as exactly what time the Leo Solar Festival is. Other things that I'll be talking about is the connection between Leo and the fixed star Sirius, and that connection between Leo, the fixed star Sirius, and ancient Egypt. Of course, we can't talk about Sirius and ancient Egypt without talking about the Lady of Sirius, and without talking about all matters with the light of ascension. Other things that are included in the talk will be the New World Religion, and that draws upon the teachings of the Lord Dwell and then I'll look at the chart for the exact full moon. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that the newcomers are muted. I'll just do that now. Welcome to the newcomers, and everybody's there. Good. Okay, so that's what the plan is. And of course, most people know, even if you don't have any Leo, it's one of those very sort of upfront, dramatic signs of the zodiac, and the animal that's connected to Leo is the lion. And of course, we have the lion of the personality, which is full of bravado and wants to maul and kill people, and is the sort of the king of the jungle in that dramatic, dreadful sense. And then we have the more elevated energy of Leo, which we'll talk about as we go along. I was talking to a friend just today, actually, and she reminded me that in the New Age world, people who don't necessarily know anything about astrology are referring to the Leo full moon every year, not just this year, as the Lionsgate portal, which of course fits extremely well with the esoteric symbolism of Leo and the connection to Sirius. So just to clarify a point, the actual exact full moon is on the 9th of August next week. I think that might be Saturday week, don't quote me. And whereas the Lionsgate is being celebrated as the 8th of the 8th next week. And some people are saying, well, it's a portal that's opening up as we approach the Leo full moon. Yes, so let's talk about that. And when you think about the Leo full moon and think about the energy of Leo, immediately, esoterically, we think about the second ray of love and wisdom. And the love side of it is the Leonian side of it, this sort of large heart that is extremely compassionate. And the wisdom side of it, you might say, is the wisdom of the heart, but you could also say it's the wisdom of the more evolved Aquarian energy. The lower Aquarian energy is extremely mental and very sort of compartmentalized. The higher Aquarian energy is much more inclusive and visionary and intuitive. And so what we're aspiring for on this Leo full moon is this compassion and the vision of the way forward. For humanity, because humanity have a very strong connection to the second ray, that energy of love, because we know that all the rays resolve, that all of the rays are subnotes of love and wisdom. Love and wisdom is the keynote for our solar system. And esoterically, whenever you think about the sun, you must look at where the earth is, directly opposite the sun. And that's where the moon and the earth are co-joining on the full moon. And the earth in Aquarius, if we're able to harness the energy of the earth in Aquarius, then we find our Dharma. And our Dharma is to do with this higher wisdom and this compassion and this intuition and this capacity to be a vehicle for love and wisdom. Whereas, unfortunately, what often happens with the Aquarian energy, and particularly on the full moon, when the moon is in Aquarius, is that we get the fourth ray vibration. That's the personality vibrations. And so the fourth ray has a great deal to do with disharmony and confusion and erraticism and combat and conflict. And so that's what the egos and the personalities are doing on the Leo full moon. But what we're meant to be doing is lifting into that energy of love and wisdom. And, you know, if you know anything about alchemy, you will have seen possibly some of the ancient alchemical images that always seem to have lions in them one way or another. And I particularly like this one here. We've got the castle on the hill. We have the crowned lion, which is obviously the esoteric energy of the heart, the love and wisdom, beautiful, beautiful bearded lion. And in the background, we have this volcanic energy, some might say a Vulcan energy. So there's something about the alchemical symbolism of the lion that is associated with the mastery of the personality. And then as esotericists, we know that Leo opens the door to the path of discipleship. And once the aspirant has put their foot upon the path, then they're entering into the Leo portal, having successfully learned something around the Taurian portal, which is another one of the fixed signs of the zodiac. Yes, so the beautiful bearded lion there. And then as I was contemplating this, it was literally a day or two ago, I thought, oh, I wonder what I'll talk about on Thursday. And I got the impression that it was all to do with Leo. And then I remembered this morning or yesterday that I'd written a poem. I think it might have been the year I went travelling, 2021, which I'd entitled The Lion's Breath, that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I thought I'd include it here. It's a very simple poem. We are the running stream, the mountain waters. We take you in, we take you in, we take you in. We are the winter's breath, the icy wind. We lift you up, we lift you up, we lift you up. We are the mountain's voice, the piper's call. We lead you on, we lead you on, we lead you on. We are the lion's breath, the heavenly host. Take us in, take us in, take us in. Very, very simple poem, which is, evokes this sort of search for the journey and the path, and then the invitation for us to open our hearts, allow the energy, the breath of the lion and the energy of the heavenly host to work within us. And there's a beautiful blue lion that I found. Yeah, so we are in this energy of the lion's breath, and we know that the breath is associated with the Holy Spirit. And then just today I saw, I think it was one of our esoteric colleagues from, now what is his name? I think he's a co-worker of Michael Robbins from America. I've forgotten his name now. And he'd posted on his Facebook page just today this beautiful image of the Lionsgate portal, as the modern spiritual people are calling it, as the esotericists refer to it as the triangle between Leo, Sirius and Jupiter. And the reason these three are connected is because Jupiter is that esoteric connection. It's the expansive, loving, compassionate energy of the second ray. And when these three are aligned, then this is the portal or the downflow or the vehicle for the Sirian energy, and therefore a pathway, if you like, for the energy of the heart of the sun, which we know as the Lord Maitreya. Yeah, so it's a funnel of communication and a beautiful, beautiful symbolism. And as I said, even though people are celebrating it next week on the 8th of the 8th, really it's between now and the full moon and a couple of days afterwards, and it's exact on the 9th. The interesting thing about the chart, and I will show it to you in a minute, is that the sun is in the cross quarters, well, 1 degree past 15 Leo, known as the cross quarters, which is the pivotal point of breakthrough. Yeah, so the sun's in a breakthrough position, and esoterically at the moment, interestingly, Jupiter is in the middle degrees of Cancer, not quite on the cross quarters of the cardinal signs. So we have a breakthrough of the fixed signs of the zodiac and the cardinal signs, and then Venus is sitting very, very close. And Venus and Jupiter together is quite beatific. And then esoterically, we know that the fixed star Sirius resides in the 13th degree, or maybe it's the 14th, maybe 13.5 degrees Cancer. So we have Jupiter and Venus, two of the benefic planets, right on top of Sirius, opening this Lionsgate portal. So a very auspicious week. that we're approaching, and not just for those who are Leos, although I think Zachary said to me it is Richard's birthday next week. So Richard can tell us all about the Lion's Gate and the heart of the sun. So there's the chart. Let's have a little look at it, and I'll find my pointer if I can find it, and then I will be able to show you. There's the sun in the cross quarters of Leo, 16 Leo, and directly opposite is the Earth. Now I've cast this for the 8th, the day before, but by the time we get to the 9th, the moon is in exactly the same degree as the Earth. So we have the moon, which represents the past and the personality, in alignment with the Dharma, the integration point. That's the planet we live on, the Earth, in the sign of Aquarius, the higher wisdom of the heart. Yeah, so that is the portal. And then here we have, and I don't have in the chart, but imagine that the fixed star Sirius sits right there where Jupiter is, and we have Venus and Jupiter together. So a very benefic connection, and Sirius is associated with hope and the promise of better times to come. Now I did look it up. I looked up the moon for 11:24 p.m, almost sort of midnight on the 8th, and it says a child born of an eggshell. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, we are trying to birth a new humanity and a new world, but it's very, very precarious. So we're going to manage this creative birth, this first initiation, without destroying ourselves or the planet. And I thought somehow that seems to fit with this child born of an eggshell. Other things, and of course I've just randomly picked a time here, and I've put Chiron on the ascendant because it's a fairly precarious birth that we're going through. But if you look at the chart, you'll see all these green and blue lines. Pluto and the moon on Friday the 8th in a beautiful harmonious sextile to Saturn and Neptune, which means that we can envision and manifest a future that is a sort of a new page, so to speak, with a sextile across to Uranus. That means that we have to use the best of the modern technology and the best of networking and the best of extensions and reaching out and education and sharing. And then another sextile down to Mercury, which is still retrograde in Leo, which is asking us to contemplate and draw deeply from the heart within ourselves. What is our wisdom, and trust that. And then that needs to be offered and shared by this sextile across to Mars, which is in Libra, reminding us that we need to meet people halfway, and there needs to be justice and equality and fairness. So you have this incredibly beautiful cradle energy. That's what happens when you get all the green lines around the outside. They form a cradle. And then we have a air grand trine between Pluto, Uranus and Mars. And that's why there's been a great deal of interest in this Lion's portal, because of this beautiful fire and air cradle and fire and air kite. And if you imagine the cradle, well, it goes that way. But if you think about the kite, this is the point of the kite, from Pluto down to Uranus, which says transformational. One would hope some of the karma on the planet, where we work in a just manner and where we draw upon deep wisdom from the past, based on our heart and our compassion. That's the Mercury retrograde, to rise up above and find solutions that aren't immediately obvious, because clearly we need a lot of solutions at this point. So there's the actual full moon, 5:54 p.m, and that's of course just for Daylesford on the 9th of August. Yeah, so in many respects a very, very beautiful full moon, a very, very powerful. And so the opportunity to network, which is all the green stars, the opportunity to draw upon systemic wisdom. Look, it could be of our generation, or it could be of a generation coming behind us, to sort of, so we don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again. But because Pluto is involved in this grand trine and Uranus, we clearly have to burn some bridges and not do things the way they've been done in the past. That's personally, in relationships, politically, socially, nationally, internationally. We do need to meet people in the middle, but what we can't do is sit on our hands and try and choose a safe riding on the fence position, which is the downside of Mars in Libra. And of course, Mars is directly opposite Saturn. So if we prevaricate and try and find a nice safe position, and or if our leaders or our politicians do this, then we're bound to repeat the mistakes of the past. Whereas if we find respect and equality and justice and fairness, and we use the best of what the 21st century has to offer us to turn over a new page, then hopefully collectively more souls on earth will approach the Lion's Gate. But more importantly, the Lord DK tells us that the month of August is the month for the disciples to draw down and be vehicles for the light of Sirius. Yeah, and the Sirian energy has this this stepping down of energy from the Great Bear, from the initiates down to the ordinary people. So it's really got the names of the disciples all over it, and this is what we need to do. But it also, and the message to pass on with the Sirian energy is that we can always do better. There's always hope. There's always a new page to be turned. And then, of course, Sirius falling in the sign of the Mother does indicate the work for the Holy Mothers. So there's a great deal of beautiful things happening in this particular chart next full moon. Of course, there are red lines, and well, Chiron still puts to square Pluto, and you know, selfishness abounds, and we can't do anything about that on a global level, but we can try and move beyond our own selfishness. You know, it's hard to know what the way forward is when we see everything blowing up and destroying around us. So we have to have faith that there are better times ahead. Yes, I'm going to leave that chart for the moment and go on. Oh, I have this program that I've been trying to figure out how on earth you use it, and it's called a Stellarium. And let me find the little spotlight here. So here's Leo, and the heart of the sun, Regulus, sits there around the heart chakra. And then Sirius is over here, what that's referred to in this constellation map as the lesser dog. And then the hunting dogs, this is the constellation of Orion. So effectively this portal that's opening up at this period is going from Orion across Leo and Regulus down to Sirius. So think of it as a doorway that goes through that part. And of course, you'll have to ignore the northwest because I was fiddling with this Stellarium program and I don't quite know what position I'd located it from. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting indication of which part of the constellations and the heavens this downflow is coming from. Okay, so what is the connection between Sirius, and ancient Egypt? Well, the ancient Egyptians only survived because of the floodwaters of the Nile and the annual flooding of the Nile when there was, I think it's referred to as a, how do you pronounce it? Helical or heliacal, something like that. When Sirius first came up over the horizon, and this is ancient Egypt, then they knew that this is the time that the Nile's going to flood, and now we can plant our crops. And having travelled through Egypt, anybody who has would know that there's this very, very thin strip either side, east and west bank of the Nile, and then you've got desert. So you've got to plant your food, your corn, your potatoes, your whatever, in that strip of land, and at the right time for the flooding of the Nile, or you'll starve. And so it's easy to understand why the ancient Egyptians revered Sirius. But the Lord DK tells us that it's the disciples who have to catch the energy of Sirius and the light of Sirius. The ancient Egyptians referred to Sirius as the blue star or the shining one. and the meaning associated with it from those ancient times is to make the mundane sacred. So I suppose growing of food and rivers flooding is mundane, and yet it's sacred because life is sacred and water is sacred. A couple of lovely images here of the various constellations, and I don't know the name of the different stars that are part and parcel of the, well, it's referred to as the dog star, and I think it's actually a binary star. And then, of course, this beautiful image here of the Lady Isis with the Lion's Gate. Yeah? So the Lion's Gate is both something in the modern spiritual worlds and something extremely ancient and very esoteric. A portal for love and wisdom, a portal also for the fourth ray energy, which we know, of course, Luxor is the fourth ray energy. And I've just thrown this slide in here just to remind us all. Here comes Arto. I'll just ask Arto to make sure that he's muted. There he is. He is very good. I've thrown this slide in here just to remind us all that what we're talking about when we speak about the Lady Isis and we speak about ancient Egypt, it's important to remember that Osiris and Isis are part of a royal lineage that goes all the way back, you know, into the early Egyptian times, back through the Atlanteans, back through the Lemurians, and beyond the beyond into Venus and outside of our solar system. So we have, and this is really just a diagram of the holy ones who have passed their teachings on. And of course, here we are down here, you know, at the time of the sixth root race, where the souls that are incarnating are will be known as the children of the heart, and that our world teacher and teachings will come in through the heart of Maitreya and Yasodhara. But this just doesn't just appear out of nowhere. This is a very ancient bloodline that goes all the way back, the Sangreal. Yes, the holy ones who live and have their being upon Sirius or reside in what is known as the Blue Lodge. And the energy of Sirius is stepped down via this star known as Regulus, the royal star, royal from the ancient Persian connection, and they referred to it as the Watcher of the North. Now, I don't know, my astronomy is not good enough to know how long. It used to be 29 degrees Leo. When I started studying the fixed stars, you know, 20, 30 years ago, it was always 29 Leo. But now Regulus, according to the precession of the equinoxes, I assume, has moved into Naut Virgo, which I do find very interesting because we have entered into the age of the mother. Yeah, and the age of the female initiates, and Virgo is a feminine sign. So here we have the royal star Regulus. It's gone from a masculine sign to a feminine sign, still the heart of the lion, still associated with Leo. I don't know whether the Watcher of the North, that's probably from the Persian perspective, I would say. Yes, and so Regulus is extremely important, and how you might relate to that, you might have something in your chart in 0 degrees Virgo or 29 degrees Leo, or you might have it in your progress chart, or you might have it in your progressions. Yeah, and I have noticed it prominent in the charts of people who feel as if they have a destiny to do with the guiding of consciousness going forward. I've seen that a few times. Okay, so the fixed star Regulus connects and links us both into Sirius, but of course also into the Giza Plateau and the Sphinx that we talked about many months ago, in ways that we don't really fully understand how the energy was descending. But I know that there are correlations between the Giza Plateau and Sirius, Orion, and Regulus. As above, so below. And the energy is stepped down to the disciples, and then it's our task to step it down to the spiritual aspirants, because the aspirants primarily draw their energy from the Pleiades. Yes, and there's another image, and for some reason I've managed to find a blue lion again, and I think you'll find that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, looks like about a dozen stars, but the most significant one in the constellation of Leo, and here it is actually 0 degrees Virgo now, is Regulus. Yes, so that's something to look up in your own chart. Where's the Regulus in your chart? Is it important? Is it relevant? So now let's talk about, so if we start thinking about August 2025, or in fact August every year, but particularly around the full moon in August next week, and we start thinking about Sirius, and we start thinking about the Giza Plateau and the Lady Isis, then of course we've shifted gears, and now we're talking about the energy of ascension. Yeah? And there's nothing accidental about this. We are in a period of ascension. We all need to up the ante, purify our auras, lift our vibration, so that collectively the planet can lift. And this is the energy which we know as the energy of ascension. And if anyone's travelled to Egypt, I know I certainly have, and been to Luxor and gone on the ferry over to the Isis temple, there in Luxor. This is and on the outer now, it's an ancient memorial, I suppose, but on the inner is the temple energy of the Lord Serapis Bey and the Lady Isis. Yes, and this is the fourth ray, one of the fourth ray foci on the planet. And interestingly, you know, Aquarius, on its lower vibration, it on a higher vibration, it operates through the heart and the energy of intuition and higher wisdom. But Aquarius on a lower vibration, it's got a bit of fifth ray, a bit of fourth ray. Yeah. And this sort of getting sidetracked by the rational mind, or getting sidetracked in conflict. And of course, this is what we see happening around the planet. Whereas what we need to invoke and work with is the light of ascension and all those wonderful tools that the Lady Ananda's given us. And is it a coincidence? I don't think so, that humanity's soul ray is the fourth ray. And until we can master the energy of harmony, beauty and art, and harmony beyond conflict, then we can't evolve as a species, because it is our soul ray and therefore it affects us all. And I do love this image because it seems to be a very fourth ray image. It sort of indicates that right down to the cellular level, to the DNA, to the skeleton, to the bones, to the tissue, we need to lift the vibration through the food that we eat, the air that we breathe. I was speaking to someone a couple of days ago. It was my daughter actually, and she was telling me about a friend of hers who's in her early 30s and has been diagnosed with terrible, terrible cancer. And the doctor had said to her, well, this is becoming quite common in your generation and we don't know why. And of course, there's many reasons for that, but I've gone off track. But the point I wanted to make there was that we need to lift the vibration of the food and the air and the water, or we end up with dreadful toxic diseases rather than ascension. And of course, as soon as I start thinking about ascension and start thinking about the fourth ray, then not only is it connected to ancient Egypt, but it also, in my experience, has a very strong connection to the interdimensional portals, extraterrestrial beings, wormholes between us and other places. I was talking to friends today about some experiences that I had in Iceland, where I've been meditating at a holy mountain at the foot of a glacier, and during the meditation in comes a mothership above the holy mountain, and then I saw the holy mountain open, and then the mothership went down and I went down with it and had probably the most blissful, powerful meditation of my incarnation. And so I don't have any doubt that the process of ascension is connected to the opening of portals to realms and places and beings beyond what we can see and feel and touch with our ordinary senses. And the Lady Ananda tells us that true ascension, and I've got a whole paragraph, whole A4 page of this is a quote from it. And Ananda says, true ascension is a transformation into pure light of one or other of the inner bodies. It is a process where all dross, darkness, and evil is removed, and the body or bodies become completely purified. And if you haven't read or don't know anything about the energy of ascension, then you could do no better than to go to maitreyatheosophy.org, and I have a link on the end of the talk here, and type in the word ascension, and you'll get all kinds of tools and meditations and things to help us understand it. Okay, so the Lady of Sirius, who is connected to the Lady of Isis, had many names. I've written a book about this maybe 10 years ago. What did I call it? Isis, Rose of Ascension. And the reason I called it that is because not only is the Lady Isis ancient, you know, back to Egypt and beyond, but she's also futuristic. She's the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the Lady of Mysteries. In the beginning, there was Isis, oldest of the old. She was the goddess from whom all becoming arose. As the creatoress, she gives birth to the sun when he rose upon this earth for the first time. That's just a quote from my book. Or maybe I've stolen it from somewhere. Can't remember. Looks like I might have stolen it from somewhere. Beautiful image there of the ancient Egyptian. I don't know that that's Isis, or maybe it's Hathor with the horned. And of course, the female gods and goddesses, they mixed and worked together. And if you've travelled into ancient Egypt, you may have been into one of these temples, like this temple of Hathor. And, you know, when you want to tune in and get a deeper understanding of the Lady Isis, you can meditate on any one of the names, because each one of these names is a job description. And each meditation that you have on one of these names will help you understand a different aspect. Sothis is another name for the is it the morning star? No, I don't remember what that's another name. Another name for Lady Isis, but it has a deeper meaning that I've forgotten. Lady Auset, slightly different spelling. Star of Beauty, Light of Worlds, Morning Star, Mother of Sirius, Mistress of the Gods, Light of the Heaven, Lady of the Blue Lodge, and Lady of the Red Apparel. Yes, and the Sphinx has that deep connection. And of course, in ancient Egypt, we have the Temple of Dendera, one of the many places where one can experience the as above, so below, and the zodiacal connection and the absolute reverence that the ancient Egyptians had for the heavens and for cosmos. And why is it important to understand about the Lady Isis? Well, it's because we are going through this process of global ascension. And so everything that the Lady Isis stands for and ways she works are tools to help us. We are going through a process of death and resurrection, a process of mysteries. Yes, we need divine physicians, but we are our own divine physicians. She was also an embalmer in the world, the ancient Egyptian world, of the preparation for the pharaohs, you know, for the going through the dangerous underworld into the world beyond the worlds, and that's where we're all heading. Beautiful image there. I think that's one of Mickey Allen's paintings of the Lady Isis. Very beautiful. Lady of Temples. Here's another name of her, the Judge of the Dead. So whether we are alive or dead, we have to deal with the karma that we've created. And of course, the fourth ray, well, it can be very, very confusing, or it can be entering a realm of enchanted energies. Sovereign of spirit, healer and giver of all life. This is what we want. The guardian of Osiris. Think Osiris as being the Christ consciousness, Christ within. And of course, a connection via Lady Isis and the Holy Spirit to the Spirit of Resurrection. Goddess of the Embalming Temple, and the death and resurrection. Okay, so all very interesting, connected to the ancient past, connected every year to August, connected to our health, our well-being, our purification, the inner bodies of our aura, connected to our future, linking us into the extraterrestrial realms, be it Nibiru, wherever else it is, and also integral to what the Lord Dwell Cool referred to as the New World Religion. And I don't remember in which one of his books he talked at quite length about the fact that in the old way of doing things, you know, the God was external to us and we were lesser and we bowed down, and that was the Piscean approach. And in the Aquarian age, we have to reclaim the God that we've given away, transcendental, and recognize and place it and revere it within our hearts, and that's the God immanent. And the way we do this is through the science of invocation and evocation. You know, being able to pray is kind of out of vogue in the modern 21st century, but it's not really. You know, the more we call out, the more this is as above, so below. This is the call and response. This is the call to our soul, which keeps us on track. It's the call to the holy ones that helps and supports us in our way. This is what the New World Religion is in the age of Aquarius, and it must be enacted on a group level. The path of religion is not a solitary path in the age of Aquarius. It's all about the group work, and it's all about becoming of the Christ consciousness. And I just have that beautiful image there of the Vesak, the Vesak full moon over above Mount Kailash in Tibet. Yeah, and I think there are 13 full moons. I think that's right, isn't it, Zach? Every year, and we know what the major festivals are, and we are bedding down and educating people about the New World Religion every single time we participate in a full moon meditation or have a talk on the energy of the full moon. This is all part and parcel of the New World Religion. And of course, if you want to work with Ananda's 17 Steps to Perfection, I think this is maybe the advanced meditation from the book. Sirius and I are one. I am perfection. I realize the unity of all. I am the victory of patience. I'm free through right action. And by myself, I have overcome separation. And that last line kind of reminds me of the Aquarian theme of unity. I am that I am. And that's meditation from 17 Steps to Perfection. Meditation book like no other meditation book. There's the link to it. Yes, and you know, 17 Steps to Perfection has meditations that take us into the planetary energies and help us to purify and redeem and lift the light of who we are in our own natal charts. And now I'm just going to have another bit of a yarn. I have no idea what the time is. It's time I stop talking, I think. So here's the Leo Solar Festival, 9th of August, Saturday week. That's right, isn't it? 5:54 p.m. I've done it from Daylesford, and I did tell you about the green stars, the cradle, and I did tell you about the big blue triangle, which for some reason, there it is. There it is there. I get my pointer out again. There's the triangle between Pluto and Mars and Uranus going down to the kite here. Yes, okay. I don't know if there's anything else that I wanted to say about that apart from the telescope. And you see the orange rectangular pattern in the middle that goes between the North Node, the Destiny in Pisces, the Earth, the South Node, the Past, and the Sun. So it unifies the karmic patterns of humanity with the Leo full moon. And like a telescope, if you have a telescope in your hand, the reason you've picked up a telescope is that you want to see into the long distance and bring something into clarity. Yeah. So the telescope here on the 9th of August next week is reminding us that it's difficult for us to see clearly unless we bring certain things into focus. What we have to bring into focus is the energy of service. That's Virgo. Higher visions and dreams and hopes for the planet and humanity as a whole. That's the Piscean energy, and the renunciation that goes with that, as well as compassion and intuition. So if those 4 things can be brought into focus, then all of a sudden we have a telescope and we can see where we're going. Okay, things to contemplate. I think I'm going to leave it there, but I think it's a wonderful week and very auspicious if it's your birthday.